UFOs are real, burgeoning, not going away. I believe this is the coming Great Deception. This is the mega lever which changes the global paradigm and does it in an instant. I'm going to read something very interesting. It's from a retired Israeli general and space security chief, Professor Haim Eshed. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And I think you'll find this interesting. First, a word from our very trusted sponsor. The rules of money are being rewritten right in front of our eyes. The institutions that control the financial system aren't waiting, warning, or wishing. They are acting. Buying gold and silver at an unprecedented pace. They're preparing for something. The question is, are you? For nearly a decade, Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands of people protect their wealth with physical gold and silver. As the world shifts to hard assets, the window to act is closing. Let Noble Gold show you how simple it is to protect yourself and your family. While everyone else is reacting to the news, Noble Gold clients are positioned. They understand that when the rules change, you need assets that don't depend on the system. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com, and download your free wealth protection kit. Once again, that's noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. The rules are changing. Make sure you're ready. All right, folks, before I get into this, just a word. We still have the UFO conference, Deception 2026. It's up on the website. You can go and you can watch all 10 speakers at your leisure. It's all there, $20. And I want to thank all of you already who have participated in that. It's that important. It's coming, and it's not, it's ramping up. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so the headlines here is this: retired Israeli general says this: space aliens asked Trump not to expose the Galactic Federation. So we've known about the so-called Galactic Federation I've known about it for decades, literally for decades. And it's allegedly this group of otherworldly entities, beings who have coalesced together to be part of the Galactic Federation. Well, there's no proof of that other than channeled information. And we will get into some of that channeled information in another show. We are the Pleiadians. You don't know who you're talking to. If a person is channeling an entity, how does he or she know what they're channeling? And I used this analogy before, I'll say it again. So it's 2:30 in the morning. You get a knock on your front door. Wakes you up, you get out of bed, knock again. You go to the front door, some guy standing there, never seen it before. Hey, can I use your phone? My car broke down. What do you say? Oh, yeah, come right in and use the phone. Of course not. Sorry, I'll call a tow truck and the police, but you can't come in and use the phone. It's not going to happen, okay? Because you don't know what you're looking at. You don't know who this person is. Well, that's analogous to a person channeling or using other occult techniques to contact an off-world entity. You don't know what you're contacting, which is why we're told in the guidebook of a supernatural not to do it. Okay, so let's continue. Retired Israeli general and space security chief Professor Haim Eshed said during an interview with Israeli newspaper last week that extraterrestrials have been in contact with the governments of the United States and Israel for years. I do believe that. Absolutely, I believe that that's true. We've been reporting on this forever, and we'll continue to report on it. There was a quid pro quo, and we'll get into that. Eshed claimed that U.S. President Donald Trump was on the verge of revealing the secret before the Galactic Federation asked him to remain silent, as the aliens are worried that humanity is not ready to learn about their existence yet. So this is why, in my opinion, Congress is standing up. The members of Congress are standing up. Whistleblowers have come forward. Age of Disclosure, the film, which really was the impetus, the nexus for our conference to push back against the prevailing paradigm that we are not alone. Well, we're not alone, but these are not extraterrestrials. They are interdimensional entities which have a very nefarious agenda. You've heard me say this before. So, humanity is definitely ready. People are being prepped. Nobody cares. This is the amazing part. This is what I keep harping on. Nobody cares. The church doesn't care. I've been invited to show the a Shroud filled at a church. I'm not going to embarrass the people where we're doing this, but one of the things the pastor said is, "Well, we don't really want to talk about UFOs." Okay, I have no problem with that. I respect his wishes, absolutely respect his wishes, and I think they're honorable and everything else. But the problem is, Congress is talking about this. Ain't the disclosure came out. Spielberg's coming out with a new movie. Where is the church? 20 years behind, asleep at the wheel, for the most part. I've had about a half a dozen pastors email me, and we give free resources to any pastor, access to digital access, but you can go online and watch all of our 10 UFO films for free. Thank you, Gil Zimmerman, my business partner. 10 UFO films. We're not the only Christian ministry that has that. Close Encounters of the First, Second, Third, and Fourth Kind. Alien Abductions. Hybrids, Cattle Mutilations. 2 films on Roswell. Crop Circles. Finally, What is the Truth? And it's all there. If you're a pastor, LA at lamarzulli.net, LA at lamarzulli.net, we'll give you the resources. Plus, you'll get a free book, Rungs of Disclosure, right there. That'll bring you up to speed. Then we'll do a Zoom chat if you want to. Write your questions down. I'm here. And that's what we're doing. Anyway, let's continue. The newspaper is one of Israel's biggest newspapers, and Eshed has a distinguished resume as a military officer, intelligence analyst, and head of space operations for the Israeli Defense Ministry. So let's just continue. First of all, this is an Omer Fudd. I'm saying that with all due respect. This guy is really smart. He's really intelligent, and he's held, positions of prestige throughout his career. The 87-year-old professor holds a doctorate in aeronautical engineering, supervised over 20 satellite launches, and received the Israeli Security Award 3 times. This guy is a stand-up guy. He's really smart, and he's telling us something. Eshed has a bit more stature than most of the people who say things like the UFOs as not to publish that they are here. Humanity is not ready yet. Eshed elaborated that President Trump was on the verge of revealing America and Israelis years of interactions with the aliens and the Galactic Federation, but the aliens thought it'd be better to let people calm down first because they don't want to start mass hysteria. There's an agreement between the U.S. government and the aliens. They signed a contract with us to do experiments here. So let's walk through that real quick. So and this is in our film, The Experts Weigh In, where I sit down with Preston Dennett and Francisco Carreira of Exopolitics Portugal. Preston is an author, a UFO researcher, great guy. I consider him a friend of the show. We have different paradigms, just like Francisco and I do, but he's a good guy. Both of these guys are stand-up guys. And while we differ, we can sit down and discuss them. So there's a section where I'm talking to Preston Dennett, and I go, yeah, I'm not buying the toothache, President Eisenhower's toothache story, and he goes missing for 24 hours when he was out in California. California is next to what? Area 51, S4, who knows what? The bottom line is, I believe that Ike went and he signed the contract. And Eshed is basically stating that openly right here. I'll say it again. There's an agreement between the U.S. government and the aliens. They signed the contract with us to do experiments. It was a quid pro quo, just like the Book of Enoch. Why is Jesus warns us, be like the days of Noah? And then you read this, and then you go, days of Noah, and you realize Book of Enoch tells us that the fallen angels came down, and they had access to the female population. They took wives, but there was a quid pro quo. It's like, Dracula's standing at your door. You got to let him in. You got to invite him in. He can't go through that threshold. If you're a Christian, especially, no way. You have to invite them in. Well, it's the same thing here. So a quid pro quo. Well, yeah, we'll give you the toys. We'll give you the ships. We'll show you how they work. Just give us access to the population. Where have I heard that before? They too are researching and trying to understand the whole fabric of the universe, and they want us as helpers. Seriously? There's an underground base in the depths of Mars where their representatives are, and also our American astronauts, he said. If I had come up with that, what I'm saying today 5 years ago, I would have been hospitalized. Eshed can see it. Wherever I've gone with this in academia, they've said the man has lost his mind. Today, they're already talking differently. I had nothing to lose. I received my degrees and awards. I am respected in universities abroad, where the trend is also changing. So he's right about this. 5 years ago, well, let's go this. Let's state this. In 2017, that's when Commander David Fravor is on Tucker Carlson's show, and Fravor says, whatever this craft, this tic tac shaped object that I saw was not of this earth. What do you do with that? That was the first rung on the ladder of disclosure. That led to the writing of the book. If you haven't read it yet, you need to read it. You need to do your homework. Plus, runsatdisclosure.com, interactive website. You go there, and the book only has 17 rungs. We're up to rung number 25, and it ain't going away. The Jerusalem Post, which published translated excerpts of Hashed's interview on Tuesday, theorized that President Trump's creation of the U.S. Space Force could have something to do with this joint U.S.-Israeli Galactic Federation project on Mars. I talked to Gary Stearman about this a while back, and he's right. There's all sorts of technology, I believe, that's been left on Mars. There's books I've read about it where there seems to be a nuclear exchange which wiped out the atmosphere, but there were rivers, there were bodies of water on Mars. So what are we looking at here? And then, of course, you get the face on Mars and all this other stuff. I mean, it's unbelievable. Let's continue. Hashed was vague about how long the aliens have been working with humans and how long the Mars base has been operational. So Trump might have created the Space Force to address a recent need for more human staff at the facility. Both the U.S. and Israel have discussed plans for missions to the moon over the next few years. But that can be a smokescreen for sending personnel to Mars, or perhaps the Galactic Federation wants its human partners to demonstrate they retain the courage, ingenuity, and technical prowess to land on the nearest celestial body before they bring more humans to the Mars base. The Jerusalem Post also noted that Hashed has written a book that provides further details about human interaction with aliens, titled The Universe Beyond the Horizon, Conversation with Professor Chaim Hashed. The professor said that the book reveals how aliens played a role in preventing multiple nuclear apocalypses on Earth. Let me stop right there. I truly believe that that's the trigger. In our Watcher series, we broke the story with Robert Salas, who was the base commander at the Maelstrom Intercontinental Ballistic Base. They had 10 missiles in silos underground. The command center was about 60 feet underground, and a UFO hovered above the gate. It was glowing, pulsating, and it turned off all 10 intercontinental ballistic missiles. That's in our films on UFOs. I believe it's number, it's either 1, 2, or 3, but we show that. But it's also in Watchers 10. So what can I say, folks? Do your homework. The UK Daily Mail took Hashed's comments about changing trends as a reference to the growing amount of UFO material that has been recently declassified, including footage of multiple UFO encounters released by the Pentagon in April 2020. That's specifically the Tic Tac shape UFO with the gimbal, which is seen a lot. You hear the public go, "Oh my gosh, there's a whole fleet of them." At the time of this writing, there was no public evidence that a Galactic Federation exists, although online jokesters opened several Twitter accounts claiming to be its representatives. Shortly after the Jerusalem Post story was published, NBC News asked the White House, Defense Department, and Israeli government to comment on Hashed's remarks, but they did not immediately respond. So let me just wrap this up. I believe he's telling the truth. I don't believe in the Galactic Federation. I've heard about this numerous times. It goes back 50 years. And so they've been saying the same thing. And just to quote Enrico Fermi, if the universe is teeming with life, where the heck is everybody? Where is everybody? So this is the coming Great Deception. This changes everything in a New York minute. They show up, and I believe it will be after some sort of a nuclear event happens on the planet. That's why they're so obsessed with nukes, because they know that that's their trigger. They know that that's their trigger. I'll be back again with another episode, probably on the whole UFO thing, because it's not going away. Consider becoming a member for like $10 a month, a little less than $10 a month. You get access, 10% off on everything in the store, 10% off everything in the store. the monthly news magazine. I'm telling Allison, our editor, does a great job on this, great articles and stuff. And you get content that is only available to members only. That's it. I do a show, one show a week just for members, and it's from the archives. It's from stuff that nobody's seen. Thanks for coming here. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your subscription. Thank you for your faithfulness. We'll see you again tomorrow with another show. We're here 7 days a week. God bless. Take care.